All right, MMA Maniacs, it's time once again for your weekly MMA podcast called Split Decision, brought to you from the Ruloff Family Inc. studios. Bueller and Dodge at the mics, ready to break you off some MMA news and, of course, recap the MMA shows of last week and look forward to the pay-per-view coming up this weekend and any other show that may be happening as well. Hey, mate, make sure you go check out Americana Rocks while you can. Much love to Fatty, but Americana.rocks. Go check that out. Might even still be able to get a Wheel of Fortune discount. Who knows? Just spin the wheel and see what happens. Put in SD MMA. And tell your friends to download us. Check us out on Spreaker, Stitcher, SoundCloud, of course, iTunes. And if you subscribe, you won't ever miss a show. So thanks to everybody who has subscribed so far. You can also get us at our website, which is splitdecisionmma.com. And find us on Facebook, Split Decision MMA Podcast. And on Instagram and Twitter at SD_MMA. And like Dodge said, we are starting off with some sad news today.
Starting off with some sad news. Corey Hill has officially passed away.
Not like last time.
Not like last week where he passed away but was back, was not back, was back. He's officially passed away at the age of 36.
There's a Ross Perot joke to make there, but I don't want to because this is sad news.
This is very sad news. Former teammate of his has set up a GoFundMe to help pay for some things for his family. You can go to GoFundMe, help Corey Hill's family.
Real likable guy when he was on The Ultimate Fighter. Had a up and down career in the UFC. The tallest lightweight fighter I think they've ever had. 6'5" at 155. First one to do the Anderson Silva leg fracture before Anderson Silva made it a thing.
Right?
I mean, yeah, it's you know, he might not be someone who's like on the tip of your tongue when it comes to names, but he definitely made a name for himself in the UFC and the Tough House. So it's sad. It's very sad news, especially when you just go to the doctor because you're coughing. And
right?
Then this happens.
I mean, it was pretty crazy.
Makes you never want to go to the doctor.
I don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't keep you from not. I had this conversation earlier this week with somebody. They're like, "See, that's why I don't go to the doctor." I was like, "Then you would just die at your house." The doctor didn't kill him.
Whatever, dude. As long as I never go to the doctor, I'll never have cancer.
Ever.
I'll just die of unknown causes.
Every person that's ever seen a doctor has died.
That's true.
Has or will.
Or will.
Yeah, this is 100% accurate. Moving on from there,
Going over to Abu Dhabi Championships,
right.
which will be going down this August.
Cool.
August 28th through 30th. We do have some fights to announce there. I know we had talked about Matt Hughes is going to be fighting Renzo Gracie.
No, they've actually, that's the Gracie that he fought
He has fought in the UFC, yes.
in Abu Dhabi, right?
And both in Abu Dhabi and in the UFC.
No, he fought in the UFC that was in the Middle East,
Yes,
right?
actually was. Yeah. You're correct.
Yeah.
I
was right about something.
There you go. There's some names for you. See if you recognize any of these jiu-jitsu practitioners.
Let's see. I'm surprised I don't see
Jeff Curran's going to be there.
Keenan on there. That guy's making a big name. Oh, there he is, Keenan Cornelius, the 88 kilogram.
Kron Gracie will be there.
Kron Gracie's been killing it too.
Benson Henderson's going to be there.
Super cool, man.
Who else do we got in there? Trying to see if we can. Dean Lister, of course, is always going to be there.
Always. Cool lineup. How do you watch this?
I believe you can watch it online.
Gabby Garcia, she's doing it too.
Yep.
From my source, one of my sources, I've been told, even though Gabby wants to fight mixed martial arts, you can pretty much count her out of ever being in the UFC.
And it's because she cannot make the weight?
Basically, and there's nobody else that is going to be close enough to her skill set and weight for the UFC to open a division for her.
All right. Well, does your inside source know how much she weighs? Because I've been trying to find out for the last 2 weeks.
What was that? 66 kilograms?
Yeah.
What's that? Pounds.
You gotta double it and then carry the one and then
2.3, right?
You divide by Celsius, right?
Right.
So
Square root it.
Right. So let's say 155 she brought it around.
I'd say 165.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, probably.
Let's use the Google.
And that's low for her too.
Well, I mean, just her body frame. She's a big girl.
66 is 145.
It says she's competing at 145.
What did I say?
165. I'd rather go with 165. Maybe I looked at it wrong when you had the lineup up there. Can you go back to it?
No, I closed it.
Well, shit. You know how many
Story's done.
You know how many people are listening right now that are going, you fucking idiots don't know what kilograms are?
Nope.
Actually, I would say 3/4 of our listeners. we're big in England, Australia, and Canada.
Yeah, sorry, guys. We don't know kilograms or stones. We don't know any of that stuff. We're stupid Americans. Moving on now to the Nevada Athletic Commission.
Yeah, Nick Diaz's hearing has been delayed. Remember, he was drug tested 3 times for UFC 183 and failed one of his tests due to marijuana metabolites.
But past the other two, which is weird.
Past the other two, so they're going to push it back for another month or two.
I want to know how he passed the other two and failed one.
That's the big question. That's why he hired a lawyer.
Yeah, that's weird. I wonder if he was he using one of those fake dongs that you can get at the store?
No, from what I understood, as bringing in the lawyers and everything, is like you said, it's just not consistent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because it seems like even if one of the tests was later or earlier, there should be consistent, and it's just not there.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I'd go to court for it too.
Speaking further into the Nevada State Athletic Commission, they recently released their guidelines only, not mandatory punishments, right now for drug testing. So they're not 100% effective yet. They say this won't even start until, I believe, September. They're going to be talking to a lot of the fighters and fight companies to start with. This caused a big stir for some of the things. We can see right now we have steroids, or this includes TRT. Basically, for your first offense, you get a 3-year suspension and 50 or 70% of your purse taken away. Your second offense is 4-year suspension with 75 to 100% of your purse taken away. And your third offense is a lifetime ban, including 100% of your purse taken away.
And we're expecting other athletic commissions to back this up as well?
Yes. This is just guidelines. It has not been 100% put down yet, approved or put into case. This is going to be for a case-by-case basis. This does not represent mandatory terms. This is just what they've come up with. They have stimulants, diuretics, and other. The other can include sedatives, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, analytics, opiates, and cannabis, which some of this is pretty crazy. Your first offense is an 18-month suspension, 30 to 40% of your purse, all the way down to your fourth offense of any one of those, lifetime ban, 100% of your purse. A couple of the fighters I watched the other day on was it Tough Talk and actually Ultimate Fight Night tonight on Fox Sports 1. One of them being I had his name just lost his name. Anyway, he was basically he was saying that he doesn't agree with that because people take things to help sleep all the time, especially if you're an athlete. You're having trouble sleeping, you get insomnia, you're training all the time, you're going up in weight, you're going down in weight, and to get some of these offenses, where you get 3 years off or 2 years off. Again, hopefully they're just guidelines. And we'll see what ends up happening with this. I mean, this is... And looking into things like we've talked about before where, marijuana becomes legal. What does this have to say for that? Other pain, muscle relaxants. I mean, that's pretty handed out over the counter for a lot of the fighters who are in training.
I'm just looking at this going, wow, this is super devastating. This knocks guys out of competition for 3 years in their first offense on the steroids and the stimulants and the diuretics. 2 years knocked out of competition. Mm-hmm. And if this is their source income, it's a big deterrent to not get caught.
I do like some of it. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like steroids.
Yeah.
You should get a 3-year offense. I mean, it needs to be strict. It can't be just, hey, you get a couple months off.
This is going to be career ending for a lot of fighters to get caught. There's going to be a lot of guys who are going to get caught thinking that they're not going to get caught. They're going to get popped, and they're not ever going to come back to the UFC.
I want to know, is this retroactive? Is this going to be like, say, guys that get caught now, or does it start when it starts in September? You start at zero again.
I can't imagine.
Or is it going to be like Vitor, where if he gets popped again, he's got a lifetime ban? He's been busted for TRT and steroids.
I'm sure it's going to
over his career.
Do they intertwine?
Right?
Like, can you do like 2 times for steroids and then 2 times for
pot?
Probably going to go from right here.
Yeah.
And like I seen,
it says case by case basis too.
It does say case by case basis.
And like I seen on one of the MMA humor things, they think that they should mix it with the Reebok deal, to where if you're on tier 1 through 5, you only take 6 months suspension. But if you're at the higher tier, then 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Also, with the Nevada State Athletic Commission, a judge in Nevada, a district judge, has reversed the lifetime ban and the $70,000 fine to Wanderlei Silva for fleeing his drug test last year. Judge Carrie L. Early ruled in favor of his assertion that the punishment, which was voted unanimously by the Nevada State Athletic Commission back in September, was arbitrary, capricious, and not supported by any substantial evidence.
So, do you think that Wanderlei is going to come out of retirement?
Everyone's been talking about who's going to take him. I mean, do you think as the UFC you would take him back after all this?
He puts asses in the seats. I think anybody would take him. I bet Scott Coker would take him.
Oh yeah, you know Bellator.
Yeah,
Bellator's on.
So as part of the ruling, though, they said there has to be a rehearing allocated for the punishment. So we will find out exactly when that happens. But for right now, his lifetime ban has been reversed. So I expect him to go fight in Japan here real quick.
Oh, he'll make some serious cash too.
He was talking about it
but
before.
He could have fought in Japan before. He could have fought in Japan this whole time.
Yeah, he also wasn't allowed to be in front of any Bellator cameras as just a brand ambassador. He got pulled from that, remember?
Yeah. But still,
now he can.
But like you said, he could have done whatever he wanted to, but it would have basically just chopped it off.
It would have cemented everything.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, all right.
UFC decided they're going to have their first event in South Korea in Seoul, November 28th. Expected to headline or at least be on the card is Dong Hyun Kim, who is South Korean.
Nice. UFC's got soul.
UFC's going to have some soul. Musasi, after taking his Fear of the Fighter brand to court, has landed a big sponsorship, this time with Bridgestone Tires.
Interesting.
Pretty big sponsorship. First time they've ever sponsored an athlete in the MMA.
Did they make him president of that too?
That wasn't him.
That was
Mac
Desi.
Desi.
That's Mac Desi,
He's
that's
fighting
right.
this weekend, by the way.
Did Bridgestone do any research to find out that they can't be in the ring? Do they know that?
Apparently, they're okay with everything.
I'm curious about that.
I want to see our first Musasi Bridgestone commercial.
Oh, if they make like the bottom of his shoes, they make the tread for his shoes.
Something. Or his gloves are made out of the tread.
Tread.
And it's just sticking to the face.
Or
he's
he
not
just
be able
beats
to
up-
just
he-
punch. You know how their whole thing is like sticks, like punches the face and
Yeah.
you can't get it off. Like
His heavy bag is just a bunch of Bridgestone tires.
yeah.
I can't wait till he does the tagline too, and he says, "Catch your dreams." Because he's the dream catcher.
Yeah.
I am Gehard Musasi, the dream catcher. Catch your dreams with
Bridgestone.
Bridgestone. I know that doesn't sound anything like him. I don't really care. That's the best I can do right now. Short notice.
We're doing good to pronounce his name right.
Yeah. Jessica Aguilar, one of the top female strawweights who was the champion over World Series of Fighting, has been asked to be released from her contract. She aims to go into the UFC and become the UFC champion. She said the UFC wasn't allowed to talk to her while she's under contract, so she solved that issue. She is now a free agent. She hopes to consolidate her number one ranking and jump into the UFC and become the UFC champion.
Nice.
So do you give Carla her?
I
as her
think
first
that would
fight?
be her first fight.
Her first
that
fight
would be
should
an
be Carla?
amazing first fight.
You have to be.
I mean, that's if they don't make that happen, they're stupid. I mean, you can't.
You're a stupid.
I mean, you can't just. You can't be like, oh, you're a champion in that other organization that we don't own. Come over here and face our champion right away.
Yeah.
No, and
UFC wants to say those other championships don't matter.
Right.
So they're going to give her somebody else. But the Carla thing really makes sense.
Right, and I see Dana the way he is. He's like, "Hey, you talking shit, huh? Go ahead and fight Carla.
Yeah.
Go ahead."
Of course. It's kind of. I wonder how that works though. When like the UFC can't talk to them if they're under contract, but the UFC still has to let them know that they're interested, right? In order for them to drop their contract, or do you
Just
think
say,
they
hey, come talk to me, just like they did with Eddie Alvarez. Come talk to me when your contract's up.
okay.
You know what I mean? When your contract's up,
That's what
we'll
you do.
talk.
Because Eddie didn't really have to fight his way up, right?
He
He came over at 5, right? They put him at number 5.
yeah, I believe so. Ranked him at number 5. That's remember,
Yeah, but-
rankings are based on the media.
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
has
she
nothing
could,
to do with
Yeah, we have nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
she could come over ranked at number 2 or 3, but still
she can't get a title shot. I
Not
don't
a title
think.
shot,
I don't
yeah.
think.
Well, even if she fights Carla, it's not a title shot.
No, it's not.
She would come in at 3 or 4, right, to fight Carla.
Jon Jones, the whole debacle's going on. We had talked about recently, do we think he gets an immediate title shot when he comes back? We all had our opinions. Dana White has his opinion. He says yes. The minute he comes back, he gets an immediate title shot.
This is garbage to me because it makes
It's big time garbage.
because it makes the athletic commission suspension and the suspension from the UFC that was indefinite. It's not indefinite anymore. Like now, you're basically saying your suspension doesn't really matter. Hey Jones, whenever you're ready to come back, buddy,
you get a title shot.
Yeah,
No
come
big
on
deal.
back.
He
Okay.
says, if you look at the murderer's row of 205-pound division that he went through it like a hot knife through butter. I mean, he's the man. Whenever he gets his stuff together, he'd come right back for a title.
Balls and all, Dana. Balls and all.
So that's not an indefinite suspension.
Right.
You're saying whenever he gets his shit together, so you're putting it on him for when he wants to come back.
He'll get a title shot.
So let me translate for you. Hey, when this shit happened, we told you what you wanted to hear.
Yeah.
We told you exactly what you wanted to hear.
Yep, that's
And now
exactly
we're
it.
telling you exactly what we're really going to do.
Yep.
I mean, do you think GSP comes back, he gets an immediate title shot?
Probably.
He has.
I don't think he's coming back.
He has no desire.
I don't think he's coming back, but just look at the how long the time it's going to be and all this other stuff. He walked away from his titles. He come back into immediate title shot if he wants another fight.
I don't know. I think him, Anderson, I think they really got a really bad taste in their mouth about the UFC. Because, I mean, I don't know if we're going to talk about it, but Anderson told John, even if you do come back to fighting, don't come back to the UFC.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
Really?
Yeah.
Talking about the UFC, and they started their Hall of Fame. We were talking about that last week and the week
Right on.
before. They changed the eras. They have wings now of their Hall of Fame. You have the modern era, the pioneers era, the contributors, and the fight wing. UFC commentator Jeff Blatnick is going to be inducted into the contributors section for this year, along with Matt Hughes and Frank Trigg will be inducted into the fight wing. If you remember, Jeff Blatnick was one of the first commentators for the UFC, former Olympic Greco-Roman gold medalist, and was actually the commissioner at UFC 17. So it's very cool. He did pass away back in 2012. I think it's a good choice for their Hall of Fame. I don't think anybody's really going to surprise us in the coming years of the people that are added.
Right.
Until we start getting really, really big, and then it's going to be like scratching for.
I hope that nothing surprises us in the next couple of years. I hope that they're not putting somebody in there where all of us are like, what the fuck?
I think it's
time will tell.
I think it's going to be good for a lot of people who are just coming to the sport because it's going to make them want to dig into. Okay,
go look.
Why? Oh,
Yeah.
Who is this guy? Why?
That's
Why?
good.
I think it's good.
One thing we forgot to talk about last week, we had the Ultimate Fighter. We forgot to talk about last week's episode, so we can go last week's episode.
And I wanted to be all happy for Black Zillions last week, and now I can't this week.
No, you can't. Well, you can for last week.
Okay, well, I'm happy for last week.
They're still up, what, 4-1?
They are 4-1.
Yeah, but now they're in their next round where all these fights are worth 50 points, where you can like literally you can win the first 8 fights and it won't matter because you know. But they didn't win the first 8 fights. They won the first 4 fights.
Well, let's look at the first 2 we had. We were gonna have who we're gonna have Carrington Banks going up against what is it?
Sabah Hamasi.
No, the Montgomery, the guy who had a seizure.
Oh, was it Creepy Steve?
Yeah, Creepy Steve. Steve Montgomery had a seizure basically because he was trying to cut weight.
I don't believe that.
They said it was because he was trying to cut weight. He was
it.
too dehydrated. He was not ingesting any electrolytes into his system. He was just drinking too much water.
I don't believe it. I seriously don't believe it because if that's all it was, if it was just an electrolyte issue and cutting weight issue, then why did they send him the fuck home? There's no way. There's no way that was it. If they went to the doctor was like, "Oh, you're short on electrolytes. Just drink this and you're fine. Nothing to worry about here." But they sent him home.
I don't know after a seizure.
A seizure's pretty brutal, dude.
No. I think that
Seizures are to the point of concussions now. If you have a seizure, I think it's like 48 or 72 hours before you can do anything.
So
I think it's more serious.
Instead,
I'm waiting to see if something more comes out of this.
Carrington Banks went on to fight Sabah Hamasi, defeated him in decision in the 3 rounds. This was the first 3-round fight we've had. It was a pretty good fight, pretty back and forth. Carrington Banks, though, taking again the win for the Black Zillions last week.
So they have 100 points at that point.
100 points at that point. Going into this week, we had a lot of the guys, a lot of shit talking. It seemed like, and Hader Hassan, man, he was an intense guy.
Yeah.
He definitely wanted to fight. Definitely a very strong striker. And he was the one that's been claiming since the beginning that he was going to take them out.
Yeah.
He wanted to fight. He had the injured hand. They finally get him in there to fight. They pick Andrews Nakahara. And first round, I mean, he hit him with a nice overhand right and a quick left hook and just sat him down. He sat
44
down.
44 seconds?
Yeah,
43?
sat him down
Official
on his
time
butt.
was 48, I think.
And ended up just following it up with a barrage of punches.
I was so bummed out watching that. I was like cheering for the Black Zillions like a motherfucker.
I'll give it to Nakahara. He threw some pretty heavy kicks right off the bat, and he was keeping the distance. But once
he got touched,
Hassan closed the distance, it was all over.
I was about ready to buy a Black Zillion shirt till last night.
What do you think about
Fucking front runner.
Hell yeah.
Look, we finally caught him being
Hell
a
yeah.
fucking bandwagon motherfucker.
Hell yeah, I was bandwagoning like a motherfucker.
what do you think about Michael Graves now? Just spinning into alcoholism, just drinking all the time,
Yeah, what's
not
that
going
all
to
about,
practice,
dude? I don't understand these guys. I don't understand a lot
just
of it.
hanging out, enjoying the
I
house.
think now we're seeing why they're not going to do this again.
Maybe, yeah.
We like the format, but obviously it's falling apart pretty damn quick.
I mean, even his teammate Nathan Coy says that if he doesn't get his shit together, we should kick him out.
Yeah, they should.
I mean,
What's
he's
he
just enjoying the fun times.
Yeah, is he just going to freeload there with all the free food and not train and not fight and just drink all day? No,
Yeah, why not?
it's not why you're there. Go do it at home.
It's almost like you're talking about the owner of the Black Zillions.
Or me.
Then we had a UFC Fight Night. Let's see, what number is this? 66, which went down in the Philippines. Did you wake up in the morning and get to see it? Were you happy?
I didn't see it.
They replayed it the night before, like last night.
That was all the
Not the night before the fight. They played it before today.
I was like, did you drive to Australia?
Yeah, drove to Australia. I was in
In
the
your
future.
car boat?
I was in the future.
They made
replayed
one. They've made a floating car. It's a boat.
It's
God
real.
damn it, it's a
real.
boat.
So they did replay it last night.
Okay.
All right.
Did y'all watch it then?
No.
Still didn't watch it. Dennis,
No,
you got a
I
chance to
wa-
watch it in the
yeah,
morning.
I watched it.
Some pretty good fights, man.
So this being over the Philippines, big stacked card. You had Yao Zuki going over Nolan Tickman with a split decision in the Fight Pass preliminary cards. And then John Diaz Reyes also got a win submission over Roldan Sengcha-an. Then we move on to your Fox Sports 1 preliminary card at a catchweight of Ning Guangyu going up against Royston Wee. Why was this a catchweight? Was it planned to be a catchweight, or did somebody miss weight? Somebody missed weight.
Somebody missed weight. Royston Wee missed weight in his first attempt. Came in at 137. He decided not to cut any further and was instead fined 20% of his purse.
Oh, well, hey, it's right there at the top of the... Awesome.
Just for you.
Perfect. And then, of course, my favorite, Li Jingleng. Yeah. Up against Diego Lima. KO. That surprise you?
No,
Yeah,
it was pretty.
I mean, I was surprised that he got it that quick. I thought Diego Lima could hang in there a little bit longer
Then first round,
than the first
25.
round, but I mean, Lee, man, he brought it to him for
Really
sure.
good.
It was a pretty knockout.
At welterweight, I'm not. You never know what's
think-
going to happen.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree with that. Jon Johnson got a win over Zhang Lepeng with a unanimous decision. And then in your final fight of the prelims, John Tuck got a submission with a rear naked choke over Tae Hung Bang. Now moving on to your main event card, you have Levon Makshvili going up against Mark Ediva. Split decision.
Oh yeah, this was. If you're Donald Cerrone, this is Dive in the Ruins.
Yeah.
Boring.
Just looking at fish. Yeah. You'd rather go dive in the ruins than look at fish. A lot of these. Yeah.
We're referring to an interview we did with Cerrone this week, and if you haven't listened to it, that guy's a lot of fun to talk to.
Every time.
Doesn't like talking fights, so we just talked to him about random shit.
I like how he called you guys. There ain't no fucking horn here, bro. I'm just drinking my coffee, sitting in my RV. It's on your end. You better fix that shit.
Shit was not on our end.
It was
Cerrone.
not. I think he was messing with his horn of his RV.
Yeah. I think he was.
That's seriously what. Puts his feet up. Me. Oh shit. Puts his foot back down. And halfway through the interview. Me. Oh damn.
Yeah,
I forgot
because he answered quickly. Hey man, it ain't me. I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about.
Just got caught. Felipe Nover up against Yu Chi Nam. This was also a split decision. Thoughts?
I think Nover deserved the win.
Okay.
I'll give it to him. Again, a lot of these, I was actually until we got to the top three. I mean, obviously, then the knockout, they were a little slow for me. The fights were a little slow. There wasn't a lot of action, in my opinion.
And then we had
Yeah, I could have called both the fights a draw. I don't see the 30-27 on the featherweight fight. But okay. I was texting somebody and I was just like, they must just have a weird style where they're at, because it wasn't like one fighter doing it. It was like every fight was like the same style.
it was probably the altitude. Yeah.
In the Philippines, it's high up. Those tall mountains out there in the ocean.
It's always you always blame the altitude, man. Neil Magny gets a TKO over Hyun Gyu Lim.
Yeah.
This was at a minute 24 of the second round.
Good for Neil Magny, man.
Oh yeah. Well, especially since Lim kind of walked into it.
And then we have our last three fights, all went to unanimous decision with Mark Munoz retiring, giving a heartfelt speech at the end of his.
Repeating speech. He repeated the same shit. Like, hey, you guys, and you know what, guys, and you know what, guys, and guys. Like, it was very heartfelt, but I just... you might have want to plan it out just a little bit more, Mark.
Well, now you know why he's retiring.
And then he put his gloves in the middle. I'm going to leave my gloves here. Leave my gloves here, guys. My gloves are going to be here.
What happened to Barnett?
I don't know. Mark Munoz he looked like old Mark Munoz, where he was throwing heavy leather and mixing it up with wrestling well, instead of this new Mark Munoz who thinks he can just strike with
So
everybody.
he wanted to come out and put on a show, and
He did good. I'm very happy with Mark Munoz. If this was the Mark Munoz who had his entire career, not just in the beginning, I think he wouldn't have retired. He could have been doing a little bit better.
I don't know. If you go back in the second round, Luke grabs his neck. I think someone trank darted him. I don't know. It was bad.
It is the Philippines.
did he just shut down?
Yeah, it was really, really bad.
All right, so then we had
Maybe he ate some bad balut.
Gerhard Musasi going up against Casas Filipu. This also went to unanimous decision with Musasi getting the win and the Bridgestone sponsorship.
I saw Philippou with it. I'm just saying.
It was pretty... I don't know if it was that close.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
And then
I don't think it was that close.
It was not.
Frankie Edgar breaking the streak of Uriah Faber. Absolute insanity. The fight, from what I read online, these guys look like they could have gone 5 more rounds.
Yes, they definitely could have. But, I mean, Frankie Edgar, like I said, was just beating Uriah Faber to the punch, throwing multiple combos where, again, Faber only had the 1-2, whereas, where Edgar was getting the 1, 2, 3, and 4, getting off a little bit quicker. Even, I think, did better in the scramble.
Did you guys get a lot of people asking you about the grabbing of the cage? I mean, at what point do they keep telling Uriah to let go to where they start
Deducting points. I mean, I don't know. Talk to Rashad Evans and Tito Ortiz. Their fight got stopped because of deduction of points due to grabbing the cage.
True.
I think it's just how long you hold on. If they're going for a takedown, if you hold on, I mean, it's just putting your hand there. You can do, but they start seeing your fingers link in. I know you can.
Yeah.
Once you start seeing the fingers link in, they warn them, and they can take points away. But it comes down to the
I
ref.
mean, there's 3 times he slapped his fucking hand.
It's just the judge's discretion. I mean, maybe he knew
Or
how
ref's
big
discretion,
Sorry, ref's discretion. It was an important fight, a big fight. Probably didn't want to stop it for that. So I mean, this is a big deal though. You got to think about Uriah Faber's first loss was against Tyson Griffin for the title, back in King of the Cage or something like that, whatever it was. And every fight after that, the only losses were for titles. This is the first time Uriah Faber has ever lost in a non-title match.
But Frankie, man, looked good, and I think he's ready. Whoever wins the Aldo and McGregor match, Frankie needs to fight that guy.
Oh, absolutely. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't.
He needs that title shot.
Have you ever seen Uriah run from somebody so much?
He did seem to be a little skippy.
No news about him breaking a hand in the fight like against Mike Thomas Brown or anything.
Not that I saw. Not yet.
And I was impressed that he put on that weight and still maintained the stamina.
Yeah, and like
you
he
said,
could have
they
went
said they could
5
have
more
went
rounds.
another 5.
Yeah.
I mean, for the weight that he put on, I thought, okay, 3rd, 4th, but he's going to get gassed. They weren't.
Nope.
And it wasn't like they weren't hooking it up either.
Yeah, but I mean that is his old weight. The weight he
right.
originally fought at. He was the first 145-pound champion,
Right.
technically for Zuffer when he was in the WC.
Right. But everybody knows what age does to you, especially in this room.
Yep.
Yes, I do. So we have UFC 187 going down this weekend, Saturday, of course, if you're looking for some fights to watch. Big one with 2 title matches on the line. We got Vitor versus Weidman, and then Jon Jones, of course, is out. So we have DC stepping in to go up against Anthony Rumble Johnson.
The Vitor versus Weidman fight was supposed to happen in UFC 173. That was back last September, and then it was supposed to happen in December at 181, and then it was supposed to happen at February at UFC 184. We're finally getting to see this fight happen. The first time was because Vitor said he couldn't compete because he's just coming off TRT. That's when they banned TRT. The second time was a rib injury and a hand injury for Chris Weidman.
Right. So, and they offered Vitor 3 fights between here and there?
Yep, and he said no, he wanted to wait.
Right.
That's patience. Patience.
Starting on Fight Pass.
Let's see where we are.
Justin Scoggins.
Justin Scoggins, who's going to be going up against Josh Sampo. Justin Scoggins, 2-2 in the UFC. Sampo 1-2 in the UFC. You have Scoggins winning this one.
Taking Scoggins, yep.
And then Leo Kuntz is going up against Islam Makhachev, whatever, who's undefeated coming into the UFC on his debut. Leo Kuntz also making his debut, 17-1-1. You have Islam on this one.
Definitely taking Islam. He is a guy who trains with Nurmagomedov. It is his training partner and is highly touted to be coming into the UFC, making this for his debut here. I'll be taking him for sure.
Be a fun fight to watch. Make sure you get this on the Fight Pass, of course.
I can't believe you're hating on Kuntz.
Kuntz.
Yeah.
Kuntz.
Personally, I love Kuntz.
I love
Big fan of Kuntz in this fight. Mike Pyle is going to be going up against Colby Covington. Mike Pyle and Leo Kuntz would never fight, right? Pyle Kuntz? Pyle versus Kuntz. Yeah, so you got Mike Pyle, of course, winning this fight over Colby. Colby's 2-0 in the UFC, 7-0 overall. Mike Pyle's got some major experience, though. 26-10-1 with 9-5 in the UFC.
I mean, he's the guy that helped start Extreme Couture. He was always been a gym rat. He's always been a training partner of somebody in that gym.
Yeah.
He surprises a lot of people. He does have slick submissions. He does have good knockouts. He's had good fights with Matt Brown. I hope that his using the veteran side of it and his experience, he can get this win over Colby. But it would not surprise me at all that Colby gets this fight. I just will be definitely rooting for Mike Pyle, and I'm gonna take him for the upset.
You guys know where Covington's out of, right?
What?
Clovis.
Nice.
Is he?
And we're not going. He's 27.
You can go for him.
I'm going for Clovis.
There you go. It would not be surprised me if he wins this fight. I just like Mike Pyle.
Mike Pyle would be a great notch.
He has an awesome mullet, okay?
So what do you think, Pyle? What, it's 38, 37?
Probably something like that.
And then this guy's 27?
Pyle used to
I'm
be
with
AKA,
Covington.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Well, Extreme Couture first, but yeah.
Covington, he's obviously got the youth on his side, and this would be a great notch in his belt.
Yeah, and this is a guy, this is old guard versus new guard for sure.
Yeah, I would probably take Covington in this fight as well.
All right.
Rose Namajunas is going up against Nina Ansaroff. Nina Ansaroff 0-1 in the UFC. So is Rose Namajunas. And you got Rose in this one, even though Nina has the experience and a better record.
She does have the experience and technically the better record. Yeah, I just think Rose is going to use her distance and her striking to be able to take out Nina in this fight.
And then Uriah Hall, he's going to be coming back again, 10-4, 3-2 in the UFC. Of course, is an Ultimate Fighter winner, going up against Rafael Hall, 19-6-1, 7-4-1 in the UFC. Uriah Hall is your pick on this one as well. If he's, if he's fighting like he has been,
yes,
good.
And that's what I think he's going to do. I think he's definitely turned that corner. You had the scary version of him in the Ultimate Fighter, then you had the timid version of him for his first 2 fights, and now you're slowly starting to get a little bit of mixture of that. And I think he's coming back, and I definitely would be taking Uriah Hall in this fight.
I would too.
I mean, Natal's only chance on this is, in my opinion, is on the ground, and I think Uriah Hall is definitely going to use his stand up and his distance to keep it standing and get the win.
I think Natal's only chance in this is if Uriah Hall shows up like he did in his first couple of UFC fights. Honestly. Dong Hun Kim is going up against Josh Berkman in this one. Of course, two very well-known names in the UFC. One's 10-3, one's 5-5. You don't have a pick in this one.
I don't know who to pick in this one.
I'm picking Dong Hun Kim. And that was a surpriser for me. I would never normally do that, but I have
Right. I mean, I think Berkman can do it.
I think Berkman's done, man.
Now, going up against somebody like Hector Lombard, whatever synthetic steroids are not, Hector Lombard's a scary motherfucker.
Yeah.
And I did not give him any chance in hell against Josh Berkman against him. So, but this is a different type of fight. This is, Dong Hyun Kim is a wrestler with increasingly good stand-up, but I think Josh Berkman is the same thing. He's been known as a grinder. He's blue-collar, he's a little bit good, pretty good everywhere, but nothing great. He did good in the UFC, or the World Series of Fighting. I think he can kind of bring that together. I want to take Berkman in this fight, but it's tough.
I like you have to make the judgment. What's easier to say, WSOF or World Series of Fighting?
World Series of Fighting. I'm like, damn.
I think Berkman's honestly done, man. Put a fork in the guy.
I'm taking the People's Warrior.
So you taking the People's Warrior?
I'm taking
and that mole.
And the mole.
I'm taking Dong.
Taking the Dong all day.
All day. Dong and cunts.
I'm just gonna put Dong all day on a shirt for you.
Dong all day. John Dodson. Dodson's here. We got him going up against Zach Makovsky. Of course, John Dodson 5-1 in the UFC. Makovsky is 3-1 in the UFC. Dodson.
I'm taking the Magician.
Is the pick here.
Now, does this lead?
The Magician.
Does this lead into him fighting for the title again?
I would hope so. I think Dodson is in that division. He has some of the fastest hands, some of the heaviest hands, and the guy's got really dynamic movement.
So if Zach wins, he gets a shot too?
Not quite.
No.
I mean, it'd be a big name for him. I mean, it's possible since anybody that's in there with Demetrius Johnson really. There's not a lot of guys that are in that division that could go up against him, and Zach hasn't yet. So sure. But I think John Dodson's definitely going to take this and earn his title shot.
We have a point right now where a lot of our champions are just so
dominant,
like leaps and bounds.
Yeah,
ahead
I mean,
of the
unless we get to welterweight, middleweight, and light heavyweight, it's really tough. I mean, I don't see Demetrius Johnson losing his belt anytime soon. I don't see. I mean, we'll find out, but I don't think TJ is going to be losing his belt. Dillashaw's going to be losing his belt anytime soon. It's possible, but he's another one of those guys I think that definitely
want
want
him
to.
Really, really want him to.
I don't see Jose Aldo losing his belt anytime soon. And then jumping all the way to heavyweight, Kane versus Verdum. I still think Kane's going to come out the unanimous, the united champion there.
I'm with you there. So we move on to the main card here with Joseph Benavidez going up against John Moraga. Benavidez, one of the guys out of Team Alpha Male, just always tenacious. This guy, he's fast. He puts on a good show all the time. John Moraga, not a slouch at all. No,
definitely not a slouch at all. He works well under pressure. He likes to push guys and push the pace a little bit. But, I mean, the pace that Benavidez sets up, the guy can go 20 rounds.
Exactly.
I mean, and he's got a good left. He's got a crushing guillotine. His wrestling with his double leg is extremely good. I'm definitely taking Benavidez.
It's hard for me to bet against Benavidez every time he fights.
Yeah,
I would take Moraga, and I'm not saying who. I'm taking Moraga, but you're going to see a submission in this, I believe.
All right.
Now, Moraga usually comes in pretty big too.
Does, and he also has a really good guillotine. I'll be taking Joe.
And then we got.
Yeah, but both of them are heavy with submissions.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's gonna be a fun fight to watch. I think. Keep an eye on that one. Travis Brown is going up against Andrei Arlovsky. Of course, you know the name, the former heavyweight champ of the UFC. Travis Brown is 8-2-1 in the UFC. Arlovsky 12-4 in the UFC, and of course, he has owned the strap at one point in time. You got Travis in this one.
Taking Hoppa, man. I mean, this guy's on a tear. I mean, even his last loss against Verdum was pretty surprising to me. However, the fights before that, since he switched camps over to GFC down in Glendale, where he's training at Ronda's camp, his striking has definitely come together, and I think he's definitely going to test Andre's chin, and we'd see how Andre gets hit, and it's not always the best. I think he might go down, so I'm taking Travis in this one for sure. I mean, Andre's old guard for sure.
I can't believe you're bringing my chin in, bro. You're talking about my chin again, bro?
He's definitely got good hands. Andre's got good hands, that's for sure. I mean, he's knocked guys out, no problem. And his rise coming back into the UFC has been quite surprising. Oh, yeah. He's been doing pretty well.
Yeah, they changed. He's way more hungry now.
Yeah.
So
I think
it's because he's been talking to dickhead podcast people, pissing him off, talking to him about his chin.
I just think Hoppa Man is gonna end up catching him by the second round.
You think so?
I'm gonna take him by the second.
Oh, I think it'd be nice to see. Yeah.
All right. Moving on, we have Donald Cowboy Cerrone, who's 27-6, 14-3 in the UFC, going up against John Makdessi, stepping in late notice for Nurmagomedov, who is 13-3, 6-3 in the UFC, and I got Cowboy all day.
I just want to go. I had to step out of the room for a minute, but I pick Arlovsky, by the way.
Taking Arlovsky?
I'm going to bet
You're
on this
always
guy.
Arlovsky.
I love Arlovsky. And I'm with you on Cerrone here all day. Go check out his interview once again if you haven't yet. We had a lot of fun with him. But damn, if this guy, you can't bet against him.
Yeah, if it was anybody but Cerrone, I'd be like, okay, well they haven't had a chance to get ready for Makdessi, but we're talking two guys who obviously will fight whenever.
Yeah, I mean, and Cerrone actually talks about it because it's good for him for taking a page out of my book, taking the fight for whenever.
Oh, yeah.
And I like when he said that I'm not going to, as long as it's a UFC fighter that you're putting me against, I'm never going to consider it a step down.
Yep.
He was very complimentary towards Makdessi for taking this fight and for being in this fight. No trash talk at all. Not like, was it Tyrone Woodley?
Yeah.
Who said that Cerrone's never getting a title shot because he keeps taking all these other fights.
Right. And I really admired that he wouldn't talk shit. And at first I thought, okay, well, maybe somebody told him about talking against fighters or talking against the UFC. But when you guys brought up the Reebok deal, he was very candid. Like,
oh, yeah.
No, it sucks.
Yeah. I'm losing money.
I'm losing money.
I need a drink.
I like you said, does it work for you? It ain't working for me. Not at all.
So, yeah, I think we all got Cerrone in that fight. So, moving on to Chris Weidman going up against Vitor Belfort.
Co-main event for the middleweight strap.
Of course, Weidman is undefeated.
Yes,
obviously.
he is 8-0 in the UFC, 12-0 overall. Vitor Belfort, the original, youngest light heavyweight champion ever. At 19, came in and won the light heavyweight champion back when it was in the tournament days. Mm-hmm. Had a fight twice in one night. He's 24-10, 13-6. We have not seen him in 18 months, and we have not seen him off of TRT.
Could be interesting.
That's going to be, to me, the big factor in this fight. Yes, he still has blazing hand speed. Yes, he can still knock guys out. He obviously has those 3 head kick knockouts coming off his last 3 fights. However, that was 18 months ago, and he was on TRT.
Right.
I expect him to be, actually, without the TRT, I expect him to be faster and more on point.
He looks like a deflated balloon of himself.
Did you really see him this week?
Yeah.
I thought he
looks
good.
cut, but he does not look as big as he used to look.
Obviously, without the TRT.
Yeah, but that could actually help him be quicker if he's not.
We'll see if he's faster, but I don't think he's going to be as strong. I think he's going to be a little slower, especially after 18 months, man. I mean, he's still rocking the mohawk with the cross on the side of his head. So that hasn't changed. I just think Chris Weidman, man, he's got underrated striking. We got to see a little bit of that against Lyoto Machida and, of course, Anderson Silva. He knocked out Anderson with that looping left that he tripled up. He put it to Lyoto to the fence, was able to catch him and cut off the cage, and I think his wrestling is amazing. Definitely taking Chris Weidman in this fight.
I think he's going to try to take Chris's legs out from under him.
All right. You're going to take Vitor?
I'm taking Vitor, yeah.
Oh, no way I'm taking Vitor in this fight.
Weidman.
Yeah, I'm Weidman.
Come on, jump out on the ledge, Joey. Jump out on the ledge. I don't want to be alone.
And now you have your main event for the vacant light heavyweight title, Anthony Rumble Johnson.
Which is just a technicality. They might as well make it the interim now.
19-4,
So
10-4 in
stupid.
the UFC. Daniel Cormier, 15-1, 4-1 in the UFC. Obviously, we know Daniel Cormier, Olympic caliber wrestler. He's got good wrestling. I just don't think... Here's what I think, is that his striking is good. I don't think it's going to matter against Rumble. Rumble can take some of the hits. He also moves his head very well, and he hits back a lot harder.
We've seen how comfortable Rumble is this weight now. We've
yes.
seen what he can do.
And Rumble was, you have to think about it, Rumble was training for a striker and a wrestler with Jon Jones.
Yeah.
He ends up getting a wrestler with some striking. He did really well against Phil Davis's wrestling. Now, that's not Olympic caliber, but that's still very highly regarded in MMA terms as being one of the best wrestlers in MMA, and he dealt with it just fine. Daniel Cormier was training for Ryan Bader, a wrestler with some striking. This is leaps and bounds. I understand he trains with Cain, and he's getting hit a lot and that kind of thing, but they say they go to war with Cain Velasquez when he's in the gym. I just don't think he's going up against somebody like Rumble. It's not Rumble.
The height, too. The height is a big deal. We've seen with Jon Jones.
Yeah.
Where, even when he brought the knee up, it was like hitting him in the ankle.
I think, definitely DC can win this fight with a lot of wrist control battles and trying to get him on the ground and pull him down. I'm taking Anthony Johnson to win the belt here.
After watching Daniel Cormier just get tooled by Jon Jones and seeing what Anthony Johnson's been doing, did I say Anthony Johnson or Daniel Cormier? I've seen Daniel Cormier get tooled by Jon Jones and seeing what Anthony Johnson's been doing. I have to side with you. I got to go with Anthony Johnson as well. No offense to DC, but man, he really just got ragdolled.
Yeah. And I'm a huge Rumble Johnson, especially after watching the murder in San Jose.
The live murder we got tickets to, that was amazing.
When you hear people go, that's bad. And those were other MMA media people.
Well, that's it. That's our show. Make sure you check out UFC 187 going down this weekend. Find a friend who's watching it. Bring over some chips and watch it. And, of course, make sure you tell your friends about us. Download us at SoundCloud, Spreaker, Stitcher, all that stuff. Get us at SplitDecisionMMA.com. Also, throw us a like on Facebook, please. We need your love. Split Decision MMA Podcast. And Twitter and Instagram, SD_MMA. Go show some love to Fatty over at Americana.rocks. Check out his MMA apparel before it's all gone.
Clear out his inventory.
Help the guy out. Help him out. And before we go, make sure you check out that GoFundMe account for Corey Hill. Thoughts out to the family, obviously. Tragic loss of him. And you can help out the family by going to the GoFundMe account. And that's about it from the Ruloff Family Inc. Studios. It is Bueller and Dodge saying have a good night and we'll see you at the fights.